show you the strings just in case if you're looking to the show.
What kind of a kid was I when I was young? I was pretty normal, you know. I like the normal things that kids like. My parents liked me, at least appeared that they did. And there's a lot of music in my family, so I kind of grew up with music all around me. All my family are musicians. I grew up in Jackson, Michigan, home of the prison and the Cascades. I went through schooling in Jackson, went to the public schools there, graduated from Parkside High School, was in the band and the jazz band. I didn't play that much piano back then, but I used to accompany people for solo ensemble festivals, that kind of stuff. So I always played piano. I took piano lessons when I was a real little kid, and then my parents quit for me because I stopped practicing. And then I took organ lessons later. And I took those for a couple of years, and I was interested in the organ, classical organ player, believe it or not. So I even thought about doing that as a career, but then I think I was too tall. I couldn't play the pedals accurately. So, but I still play organ every once in a while for churches and so forth. I graduated from in Jackson, went to Michigan State University. Got 2 bachelors there. They sent me the wrong diploma in the mail, and I called them. A lot of people have heard the story. I called them. I said, "You sent me the wrong diploma." I says, "Well, send it back and we'll send you the right one." Well, I got the right one the next morning. So I have 2 bachelors from Michigan State. Then I got a master's later, so I have 3 degrees from Michigan State, even though I didn't earn 3 degrees. So, and I've done some. I was in the Army for 3 years in Indianapolis, Indiana. I took some composition from Butler University there and played their jazz ensemble, and that's about it as far as formal education. Yes, I am married. I have 4 kids altogether, and they're all musical. They all like music. They don't all do it for a living, obviously, because you know, it's hard to make a living as a musician. And my wife is a high school English teacher, and she's retired, and I was, of course, a band director for many years in DeWitt, so I'm retired also, so we're a couple of retired teachers. What's interesting is that both my parents were teachers, both my brothers are teachers, and both my brothers married teachers. So we have a lot of teachers in the family. Yes, my main income was teaching. I taught for 30-some years, mostly in DeWitt schools. I started in a little farm town of Merrill, Michigan. People ask me where Merrill is, and I said, well, it's halfway between Hemlock and Breckenridge, which usually pins it down. And there you go. I was at Merrill for a year and a half, and I was drafted into the Army. We were still fighting in the rice paddies in Vietnam then. So I got this nice Christmas letter from President Nixon, said, "Greetings, and by the way, we want you in the service." So I went and ended up playing in a band at Fort Benjamin Harris for 3 years in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is a cool city because there's a lot of music there. And that's the home of like Wes Montgomery and J.J. Johnson, and I think Wes Montgomery's brother had a jazz club there too at the time. A lot of really good musicians from Indianapolis. And I worked a lot down there also.
We are pleased and honored to have Jeff Kressler as our 2018 JAMM Tribute Honoree. Every year we pick a musician from the area who's contributed most to the jazz environment and made the most musical contributions as far as education and performance and general connectedness to our music community. The nominating process involves every year we open the nomination up to the general public. They can nominate whoever they want. We get a list of 20 or 30 names, then the JAMM board selects 3 from that list of the general public nominates. Now, those 3 are put up in a secret ballot for the board. The board selects 1, 2, and 3. So the last 2 years, Jeff has finished second. So we've decided to make that sort of an automatic process where if you make the top 3 2 years in a row, you're automatically the nominee. Welcome, Jeff. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I came in second. I guess I should have voted for myself.
Well,
Might have made it a little easier.
you were the bridesmaid 2 years. Now, how does it feel to be the bride?
It feels good. It feels good. I'm very honored and appreciate that JAMM has named me as the Jazz Musician of the Year. So,
Well deserved. Well deserved. So, I do have some name confusion. According to your Facebook profile, your name is pronounced Brad Pitt. So I'd like to.
Well,
are you often confused with Brad Pitt?
a lot of people confuse me with Brad Pitt, but he drives a better car than I do, so that's probably the main difference. And I get asked that a lot, as a matter of fact.
Should I call you Jeff or Brad?
You can call me Jeff or whatever you want.
We'll call you. Okay. Now we were on a jazz cruise. I think it was last year, and we went to a forum of all piano players, some really great players, and we noticed the fact that every great piano player either had parents were classical musicians or they grew up in a house filled with music. There was no exceptions to that. There's nobody that came in from outside a strong musical connection who's actually risen to that high professional level like yourself. So just tell me a bit about what it's like, your musical environment when you were a kid. It does make a big difference.
My dad was a professional musician for a long time. He was a clarinet player.
Really?
In fact, he was asked to join, as I remember, the Paul Whiteman band back in the 30s. He played professionally for a while. Mm-hmm. And then he went to school and became a band director, and a counselor later in life. And then my mother played violin in the Saginaw Symphony. I had never heard her play at all, but she did in her youth play. Mm-hmm. And then my 2 brothers are both very good musicians. In fact, one brother taught music as a living. So I heard a lot of classical music and a lot of jazz music in my home as I grew up. So I was used to listening to that all the time. So through osmosis, I guess I just went into music.
What type of jazz music was in your household as you were growing up? What players were the dominant players back then?
Well, this is, of course, in the day of record albums. My dad had, he was a real fan of Benny Goodman, of course, and Red Nichols, and mostly traditional jazz, that kind of thing, and big band things. And I had a brother who really liked Stan Kenton. Mm-hmm. So I had Four Freshmen, that kind of thing. Kind of, straightforward American songbook, so to speak, kind of music.
What was your first introduction to bebop?
Probably in college. I would listen to it. I had a lot of friends who were really into bebop and so forth. I tried to learn some bebop, but it's some of the lines are pretty technical and hard to play and so forth. So, but I started to appreciate that in college probably.
Okay. When did you know that you wanted to make jazz your passion as far as music?
Probably in college. I started playing weekends with a dance band and dance clubs and that kind of stuff, and I thought this is a nice, enjoyable way to make a couple extra bucks every weekend, and it helped out and so forth. I didn't really want to do it for a living because I didn't want to have to put that kind of pressure on myself to constantly play and keep the lights burning and all that kind of stuff. But I knew I wanted to be involved with it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Now, most people over the decades remember you with Patty Richards.
Yes.
And there's a Patty Richards story. Do you have any that you can tell, I guess?
Well, some of them are not very tellable, I guess. The one that I think I told at her memorial service is we were, and people have heard this before, we used to play at a place outside in Hazlitt, and it was an outside deck, and we're playing this song, and there's a golf course behind it, and there's this lady on the tee practicing, hitting golf balls, and she kept missing. And I'm looking over and I'm seeing it and I'm starting to laugh. People who are listening to us are laughing, and then the bass player, who was Peter Dominguez at that time, for laughing, and then Patty. And then we're all laughing at this lady. She kept missing the ball on the tee. And the song that Patty was singing was, "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing." So I thought that was apropos.
Any pianist that's interviewed has to explain their influences or describe their influences as far as jazz piano. What are your influences?
A lot of piano players. I listened to a lot during my lifetime, and I, of course, admire Oscar Peterson because he has such great technical skills. And Chick Corea is a great player. I really like what he does. And Bill Evans, of course, and Les McCann. I mean, there's just a ton of great piano players that I try to listen to and copy what they do, try to some of the little licks and so forth, and eventually I'm trying to assimilate all those things into what I really like and the style that I have evolved into, or still am evolving into. It's a never-ending. You know, it's amazing how your playing will change. I used to record all of my jobs years ago, and it's amazing how my playing has changed and evolved so much. Sometimes not good, sometimes good. But it just changes all.
Now, you were playing at the beginning of this clip here, and it sounded pretty fantastic to me. Do you have any plans to record a solo album or anything like that?
No.
Oh, please.
Come
on.
I've been on a lot of recordings, but I've always thought, I think if I ever did a recording, a CD of myself, number one, I'd probably never sell any. Because we don't have any CD stores around anymore. I don't really travel as the Jeff Kressler Trio or Jeff Kressler Solo or whatever. And I would think I'd never be satisfied. I don't think I'd ever be happy.
I think we'd be satisfied if we heard it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but plus it's I haven't really seriously thought about it.
I would suggest that you seriously think about it over the next few years if your fans would like to hear it. So.
Well, I would like to do a recording, but I'd probably do it with different bass players and different drummers and different horn players.
Mix it up.
And I know some friends of mine have done that. It's really interesting. It's kind of fun. So
congratulations, Jeff. We're thrilled, and I hope you're thrilled to be part of this. These tributes are very meaningful to everybody that's been involved in it so far. We bring in people from your past. I hope we don't embarrass you.
You mean my old parole officer and everything?
You got it. Right.
Well, thank you very much for honoring me. It's really a privilege. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.